Everybody, Carson here. We're back for part 3 of my second Partners and Son retailer grab bag. I remember I'm giving them a budget of about $100 and they're sending me a bunch of books. Partners and Sons is a great independent store in Philadelphia that carries lots of small press and indie comics. And for that reason, I go to them and just tell them like, hey, you got your finger on the pulse. Send me stuff that I should know about, that our viewers should know about. These reviews are obviously to expose you, the viewers, to the stuff, but it's also to help me communicate to Partners and Sons what I liked and what I didn't like, so over time they can get to know my taste better and maybe spend my money better. So this video is the books that I really liked out of this batch. Artists that I've never heard of before that I want to follow up on, people that I'm excited about, books that I'm just really excited to have in my collection. The previous 2 videos were things I didn't like or things that I thought were okay, and that's fine because other people may like those as well. I give these things a numerical rating pretty much only to communicate to Partners and Sons my taste, how much I'm excited to have these things in my collection and on my shelf, so over time they can hopefully curate a little bit more to my taste, but I always give them the leeway to send me things that they know I'm not going to like, but that they think other people might like, and that, you know, artists that should get exposure as well. So I'm not expecting that they're sending me 7 through 10s only every time. But that's what this video is out of this latest batch. These are the ones that I really like, the ones that excited me, my 7 through 10s. Let's take a look. I got scarf number 10. Last time Partners and Sons sent me a box, they sent me scarf number 9, and I really enjoyed it. It's a free periodical that it looks like comes out in Philadelphia. For sure, they're themed. I looked in the back of this one. The next one's going to be themed on communism. The last one looked like worries about technology, and this one just seems to be focused on music. What I liked about this, and I'm going to have to go back and forth here to show some of these pages, is the theme, and then you just get a bunch of different artists showing up in here 1 or 2 pages at a time. So it's a real good way for people to get exposure. They have their Instagrams and handles on different things, QR codes. Some really cool, I'll have to go back and forth. Some really cool, in these formats, people can experiment. So I see some nice experiments with form. Just some really wild compositions. People are taking advantage of the psychedelic nature of music, the rhythmic nature of music to get some really beautiful stuff. So this one here, this is for Scarf by T.S. Hart, and the handle is @SquidFarts, so you can look up @SquidFarts on Instagram. This one is @Crapricorn. Well, these people all have amazing handles. I wish my handle was that cool. So SquidFarts and Crapricorn. I like both of those ones. Let's see, I like both of them on this page, this spread too. I really like the art on this one. This one also had good dialogue. This is Simple Minds @Brandon Lehman. So someone to follow up with. And this is @Learn Maxwell. Yeah, there's no name on it. I'm assuming that's the name. But I really like the art on this one. This is someone I think that would be really, really powerful with color, doing the risograph process. And then this page here, it's a 2-page spread. I didn't necessarily, the whole thing wasn't the greatest thing I've ever seen, but this sequence here is just absolutely awesome in my mind. They've got this music, so it's in 3/4. You kind of got a waltzy feel to it, and then they're fighting as the music, and I love just something about that is so smart to me. So this is from Brain Space Comics and the Toon Goon. So that one, this piece right here, I think we need to do a Formalism Friday on that one. That one's really cool. And then in the back they have just little short, the funnies. And there were 2 of them in here that really stood out to me. This one here by Cram Comics, aka Mark Fisher. This was just plain with the shape of noise. So I really just like the visual forms there. And then this one down here by Levi H. Friedman is just a really good like sight gag where you have the guy walking towards the banana and it's setting up the standard gag, but then another standard gag of the piano falling comes in and takes him out. So I just thought that was funny. It can't be the first time anyone's done that gag, and if it is, like, congratulations to Levi Friedman for being the first person to set up that joke with two of the most standard jokes. So yeah, I really like Scarf. I don't think there's like any one, piece. Like, it's just nice to have the variety like that. I don't think anything in there really blows my mind, but there's a whole bunch of cool stuff going on and a place for people to play and a good reason for me to go check out some of these artists and see what else they're up to, because it's a lot of potential. I don't even think I need to rate Scarf. I don't know. It's not something to rate. It's just a cool thing and it's a free thing. But we'll say a 10 because there's a 10 on the cover. Okay, Unicorn Fight Squad by Larson. That's the best I could tell. And there's no, this kind of pains me. There's no like Instagram or website or anything or first name. So I don't know who did this book or how to get you in touch with them, which is too bad because I like it. It seems like another one of these, like there's a lot of them, this post Adventure Time type of art. But this is a first issue. And this is what to do if you're doing a first issue. It starts off with me spending a bit of time getting to know the characters. They're just in their house. Here's that like super Adventure Timey type of eye. But you get to know the characters. There's some good just down-to-earth dialogue. Good cartooning all the way throughout. I like the use of the gray tones. You start to meet the characters. Get some really cool heavy metal bands performing at the bar. And then you kick into a story, and the heavy metal band has let out these worms, and they're going to eat everyone's brain. And we come in, and we've got to fight off these worms. And throughout that, a kind of Men in Black organization shows up and cleans out the bar. One of the friends goes missing, gets caught up with the Men in Black people, but basically that little arc of the chaos at the bar is over, and the characters go home, and you have a wrap-up where they're talking about the strangest night ever. So you have a complete story beginning to end. You start to get to know the characters. There's not too many characters. There's not too much world building. There's a suggestion of mysticism. There's a suggestion of a greater conspiracy going on. There's something to follow up with, like where did Jerry go? What's Jerry doing with these Men in Black? But the story wraps up in a way too. And like if this is the only Unicorn Fight Squad that comes out, it's a pleasurable read on its own. But there's plenty of room to continue. And I haven't been overwhelmed with details or anything. It's just right into the dialogue and get moving. So this artist also really knows how to write and set up a first issue. This is a great example for people who are like looking at what is he talking about when he's talking about like just get one issue done. That's a one and done. Don't worry about the grand project yet. But this sets up a potential grand project too. I'll be taking this to work and showing it to all my students who are interested in comics. Like, look, make one of these. Before you start worrying about anything else, give me one of these. So I'll give it a 7, mostly because on this one, I'm how much do I want these? I don't know that I would read a second one, but I'd have to see like how this builds into something larger to see what my particular interest is. But it's just not so much for me. But it's really well done piece of work. So 7. Steve Allet's Hyper Thick. This is a book from Floating World Comics. I know they did Everett Glenn's Unsmooth, so I was pretty excited to check this out. Quick flip through, looks like someone who's mimicking old comic art pretty good. On closer look, it's maybe, I think what's happening here is actually someone sampling actual old panels. There's a weird like blur effect that I don't know if they're photographing them or they're blurring them in Photoshop to make them look aged or get rid of some of the dot patterns. I'm not sure. And some of the drawings like this don't fit the style of the other stuff. So I don't know how much of this Steve Allett is actually drawing and then doing, post production stuff on to make look old. But my sense is, because of the way the writing works, that this is just sampled, appropriated imagery with maybe some other drawings put in later, possibly, like this kind of stuff being worked in later, or maybe it's all just pulled from sources and collaged together. I'm not quite sure. But it's an interesting look. And so, this idea of appropriation, kind of like these fractal things that are pulled from the internet, the idea of appropriation and collage in comics is really interesting to me. Obviously, we did a lot of that in Strange Death of Alex Raymond, like getting rid of words and putting new words into the old balloons. I've seen some other stuff like that, like Dave Sims doing that with his Cerebus in Hell stuff, where he's using Gustave Doré. So it's a strategy that I think is really interesting. The writing in this is basically, I don't know, it's very like Jacques Derrida, deconstructionist type of, like, just surrealist babble, basically. You'll get some fun things every now and then, like where you're basically, I think Steve Allett is just trying to upset language, unsettle language, and break it, show the absurdity of language, which is a very Derrida thing to do. So if you drink a glass of water while falling off a cliff, it has the same effect as poison. It's like a logical statement, but totally useless type of statement. So I can't say that there's any stories in here. It's just like a blah. It's a lot of blah 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 blah. It's hard to read, but it's such a fascinating project. It looks like he's advertising for some of his other books, and Alan Moore must be a big fan, because there's quotes from Alan Moore kind of all over the place. It's like the one person that will give him pull quotes, which is, if you're gonna get one person, get Alan Moore, I guess. But then, like, that's it. I also like on the back it says, Steve Allett's the man Warren Ellis once described as "stop following me." So it has a good sense of humor to it too. It's definitely hard to read. You'll feel like you're picking up on some kind of narrative, like right here, this girl is saying, the risk of characterizing your god as an insecure ruler is that you'll mistake an insecure ruler for your god. You coming to the party? I'm still recovering from last time. Jo did her best to prepare me for the immensity of it, but when I opened the door, I was confronted with a sidelong dimensional assembly. It was a fixed turmoil, like the complications of a watch. So it makes sense, like she's saying something, but it's like really out of nowhere they're talking about God, and then out of nowhere they're talking about opening the door into this weird dimension. So the dialogue's just constantly shifting on you in a way that's hard to get a handle on. So this is a really fascinating experiment to me. It's an experiment I feel kind of akin with. I think, like, I like what they're doing. I hate Derrida and I hate everything that comes out of him, but I believe Steve Allett is doing exactly what he wants. And it's kind of fun to me too, because we did, Dave Sim and I, and then with Sean on production, did a book called You Don't Know Jack. And within that, we kind of did the same strategy, where I took old pages from Rob Liefeld's Evangeline, with art by John Stintsman as the artist that I was copying, and like put our character Jack's face into there, and then filled the balloons with Jacques Derrida quotes that I felt were indicative of what I dislike so much about his philosophy, and then just what I dislike about his writing style in general. So this almost feels like a counterpoint to that, someone who's like really leaning into that strategy versus us kind of using that and pushing back on it. I don't know where there's two of them in here. Here's the other one, The Origins of Jack, and this is again all swiped directly from Jacques Derrida. So I think it's a really fun strategy, and I think there's a lot of room within that postmodernist appropriation, deconstruction, and decontextualization to generate a lot of interesting meaning and open up a lot of discussions. I don't know that the writing in this is for me, or that it opens anything up for me, but it's a very compelling experiment. There's 3 issues of this. I don't know that I need to read 3 issues of it. I don't know that it adds up to anything more than just like a psychedelic babble. But I like having it as an experiment. And it may not be something that I'd want to do with that strategy or that I'd want to do with comics, but it's exactly 100% what Steve Ouellette wants to do. And I got to respect that, an artist who's pulling off exactly what they want to do. And then I'm so fascinated by how it was made, whether some of this stuff is drawn by Steve Ouellette, what's this weird blur effect on everything. There's just a lot of production questions I have that I'm really fascinated by. So, not a pleasurable book to read, but a really, really fascinating book in my mind. And so for that, I'll give it a 7. Here we have Eyelash Out by Ben C. from Retrofit Big Planet. This one looked cool to me immediately. I like a lot of stuff from Retrofit Big Planet, so excited about this one. Definitely liked it. It seems kind of like in the early, like inspired by early Michael DeForge, mixed with Yoshitomo Nara, who's a Japanese, pretty popular Japanese artist. When I followed up on Ben C on Instagram to see if there were any other comics or more comics coming out, the paintings that he's doing now really have like a more slicked up Nara vibe to them, mixed with a lot of the stuff that you see in like Juxtapose magazine, things like that. I also caught some, like, it's a weird one, but I feel like there's some Bill Rye in here, a guy associated with Ren and Stimpy. I don't know why, but there's some of that coming through. So there's all of those. Maybe it's just like kind of the ugliness of some of the things. Like Bill Rye was always good at like those close shots of the pimples and stuff. So there's some of that mixed in with that stuff that Michael DeForge moved away from, which is fine. I really love DeForge's work, but I do like that early work where he has these more guts type of stuff. But there's also some really beautiful images like this where the guts and the sparkles are mixed together. So I really like the art in this one. The story's strange. It seems like these two characters go steal an eyelash from a goddess, and then that they're like trading that in for something, and then the deal goes wrong. But I like the idea of like this narrative where you have to steal something from a deity and that goes wrong. It seems like there's some little message in here about reaching above yourself, and the splendor and the wonder and the horror of all of that. Really cool imagery in here. This is an old book though. This is 2014, so I doubt anyone's gonna be able to get a hold of it. And unfortunately, it doesn't look like Ben C is doing any more comics work. It looks like all painting, going into the Juxtapose type of route, going that route, like the pop surrealist fine art route. So that's unfortunate because I really like this, but I did like this book. It's a strange little book. It's hard to give it too high of a rating because of the length, but it's a 7 for me. It's an enjoyable book, and I really wish there was more out there from this artist. This is Night Hunters, written by Dave Baker, with art by Alexis Zirett. This is another one from Floating World Comics, and given what I've seen from Everett, given the Steve Ouellette book, and then this one, it's further convincing me that Floating World is a publisher to really pay attention to. The story in this book is a pretty simple, like, brothers gone 2 different directions in a dystopian future. That's like the emotional core of the story. The rest of the like details of the sci-fi dystopian future are kind of incidental to that core story of these 2 brothers, and this is their father. So the opening sequence is like their origin story. One of them basically goes on to become a cop, and the other one goes on to become a rebel against the system. And these are in the favelas in Caracas, Gran Caracas. So that's the story. The story is a pretty simple, like, sci-fi story with that, brother versus brother narrative. But it's well told and emotionally impactful. It's a pretty damning critique of the society we're living in now, which good sci-fi will do, and wealth disparity and all that kind of stuff. The real selling point for this book, though, is the artwork. and especially the coloring. I think you could see as I'm flipping through, there's a really limited palette of like pretty primary, and then green with and magenta as well are pretty much the colors, and they're pretty much flat colors. Every now and then you'll get a character who has, or a panel where there's like two colors used to light, but most of it's just single flat colors throughout. Every now and then you'll get some variations where a color has a lighter value as well, but for the most part it's just these flat colors. And the design aspect of how the colors are applied, which colors are chosen when, to what effect, like they're not neons. They're in the way it's printed, it's like desaturated. They're still really nice intense colors, but they're not the make your eye bleed like Marvel reprint, omnibus reprint type of colors. It's printed on a kind of matte coated paper, it feels like, which makes the ink a little funnier. I think like a pure matte paper would have made these colors look even richer and sexier, but it's a really good print job, really good reproduction. Yeah, and really the art is what makes this sing. So I'm not going to go into it much further. I'd recommend picking it up for yourself. It looks like it's broken into 4 chapters with covers and stuff, so I'm pretty sure it was a 4-issue mini-series that's been collected at some point. But if you like what you're seeing with the art, pick it up. If you like dystopian future stories, pick it up. It's a really good one of those. So I give it an 8. Town and Country Homespun Stories #1 by Alex Nall was a real surprise and a real treat. When I flipped through it, I was like, eh. But reading it, I fell more and more in love with it. It's 6 stories all set in this small town, and it doesn't have a name on the town as far as I can tell. It tells you 30 miles to Maple, 6 miles to Clydesdale, 15 miles to Sandbag, but I don't see a name on this town. And then there's 6 chapters in the book, and each chapter in the book is like a character, but it shows you where they live at least, or where the story is taking place. So I really like that formal format of the book. This kind of cracked me up because when I first started dating Tori and she was telling me about growing up in Oklahoma, she told me about one of the number of small towns that she lived in, and we had looked it up on Google Images, and I think it was maybe this is like one street bigger, but it looked about like that. So I like that. There's something about that I like. This is set in Illinois outside of Chicago. So it's not diaristic, but you get a sense that Alex Nall really lived in a town like this, and there's some sense of reality, and there's maybe even one character that almost is diaristic, but I really like this. So it starts out, and I saw Don's diary and thought, oh no, more diaries, but it's all, as far as I can tell, fictional, and so it's way easier to read that, and so you get to know these characters, and you start to get a sense of this small town, and you go through Don's kind of who this character is. Most of the stories are just like exposition at top, and it's running against the images, or running with the images, not against them, but running with them, concurrent to them. When I first flipped through the book, I thought, oh no, it's just a bunch of exposition. But it really works because it's almost like the characters' internal, like it's this small, quiet town, and they're all just lost in their thoughts while they're going about their days. And that works for me, and they like cross-inform each other in an interesting way, and I never felt like I was slogging through a bunch of text. I was really going along with it. This story here feels like the most likely to be actual real-life stuff, like the cool kid at high school and what happened to him. I won't give that away. The biggest holdback in the book for me at first was the art. Like, the art is pretty, I call it like functional cartooning. It's nothing impressive or special, but it works. It tells the story. As we get into the later part of the book, though, there starts to be some stuff that I think is like really good cartooning. Especially like here in this last story, we got these images where I don't know if these were made in that order, but if so, there's an impressive amount of improvement from the first story, which has kind of this, like I said, functional. It's a bit clumsy, functional cartooning to some, that's like really good character. That's really good character right there. So I'm seeing growth in Alex Knoll's work, like this right here too. Just really good stuff. If you're growing that much in 36 pages, that's awesome. This is a really good drawing there. And the story is, I don't know what the story is yet, but it feels like this is going to go on. This is issue number 1. Like it's going to go on, and you're already starting to see some of these characters' lives interweave. And this is like the type of stuff that I hope it doesn't take any weird turns, because this is the type of stuff I'm hoping for. That's just like day-to-day life drama, and I could see this going on to become a really special comic, a really special series. I hope it continues, and I hope it gets bigger, and I hope it grows, but not grows outside of itself. I hope it doesn't grow too far outside of the boundaries of the town, but I hope some really compelling drama develops out of this, because it's seeded in here, all of the little pieces of the machine that you need, and like this familiarity, and like, I don't know, this is almost the kind of book that I wish I could do, like, or at least where I see this going is the kind of book I really hope for. So I'm really excited about this book. I'll be looking up Alex Knoll and at Ivy Terrace Press. This was March 2022, so I don't know if anything else has come out yet, but I really hope this continues, and I really hope that someday it comes to full fruition. So this is an artist where I'll say put out the call to go support this artist. In terms of a number, I'll give it an 8, because like it's not complete. I don't know where it's going, but the potential of this is a 9 or a 10. So let's rally and everyone go support Alex Knoll and see if we can get this to completion, because I think this could wind up being a really special book. I'm excited about this one. This is an issue of Smoke Signal. This is all Jordan Crane work, who's someone that in all the Fantagraphics books I'm looking at, I really became kind of obsessed with. Really think he's a great cartoonist. Really looking forward to the Keeping 2 book that's previewed in here, that should have been out by now, but got held up in customs, I think, or something, in a shipping debacle, another supply chain issue for Fantagraphics. I didn't know what Smoke Signal was, so I had to look it up there, and started out as an anthology, just a free comic newspaper, and has gone on to now just like feature certain artists just by submission, or they reach out to certain artists. I'm not sure. I guess if you're in New York, you can just pick this up for free in certain spots, and other places you can order it. So I'm gonna have to look into how to order this, because this is a really nice thing to have. I wish I could be getting this for free, but just some really amazing Jordan Crane illustrations. It's too hard to show both sides here, so I'll just flip through. A lot of illustrations in here. You have to find your own copy to see the left-hand side, I guess. But you'll see why I like Jordan Crane so much. I mean, just fantastic artist, amazing use of color. Also a great cartoonist. This story here, just, I mean, absolutely love it. Love the use of color. I got one of his smaller collections. I don't think it had this story in it. I would remember this one. This is half of an amazing spread. This story, Wake Up, was in the collection that I got, but it didn't have this at the bottom. So that's kind of cool to see that with some extra context. That's an intense story. He'll flip styles a lot too, and subject matter. And then when that story kind of starts running this other strip at the bottom, that I think is from another one of his books now that I haven't got yet. And he does stuff on Instagram that's on this now. This is a preview of Keeping 2, which should be out already, but like I said, isn't. So I'm really, really excited for whenever that gets delivered. Look at the colors on this and the art. Just really awesome stuff. I gotta pull that over. Some really cool stuff on that page.
Awesome psychedelic art. So a really versatile artist, obviously talented. This is from the book that I got as well. Really, really great stuff. So excited about that, and I looked them up, and the next one's by another artist that I'm looking forward to a book from, Maria Medem, a Spanish artist. So I don't know. I got to figure out how to get like on a mailing list for this or something, or maybe Partners and Sons can just always mail me one of these. I don't even know how to rate this. It's strange that it's on newspaper. I mean, Jordan Crane's work is great, and this looks like an ad almost for like many of his other books, which is interesting. So to me, this is just like a 10 out of 10 in terms of, if you haven't been exposed to one of these artists, to be able to get their stuff free. But still, with like, for being on newsprint, it looks nice. There's nice colors and stuff. I looked up before I did this. It seems like some back issues of these you get them for like $100. It costs like $100 to get some of them too. So it's an interesting object, and yeah, I really really want to figure out how to get on a list of getting these. And I don't know if it's free that Partners and Sons sent this to me for free, or if they're on a list that gets them. I'm gonna have to communicate with them about making sure that I always get these, whether I pay for it or whether they're getting them for free, because this is really awesome. This is a treat. Mint, the second edition by Michael Kennedy. This book really stands out to me, not because of its cohesion, but because it has so many little short bits that speak to Michael Kennedy's power as a cartoonist and really make me excited about where he's going to go in the future with his comics. Each piece seems maybe like a 1 or 2 page for some kind of other publication, and he runs a gamut of a lot of different styles. I really like the production of this too. It almost feels like it's printed on plastic. I mean, it's like, this is like really hard paper, and it's like that all the way through. The mint here reminds me of the way Chris Ware did the lint, and I do see a lot of like Chris Ware, Daniel Klaus type of vibes in this book. It almost seems like intentionally so, but you'll see there's a lot of different art styles in here. This one feels really Chris Ware to me in its layout, but the illustration style is different. I mean, just all over the place. This, the like kind of R. Crumb vibes going on here. Each one's its own little short thing. Some of them land better for me than others. Like I really like this one. These ones not so much. Really like this series here. This has more like the Dan Klaus thing in it. I really like how he makes white people like absolutely white, like pasty goth white. That's funny to me. This is funny to me, this with these lemurs, but it's just closed captioned at the bottom. It's just a goofy story, but that little bit alone makes it land for me. It keeps coming back to this character here. Really cool illustration. Again, kind of a Dan Klaus, Chris Ware, Michael DeForge all coming together into one thing. I mean, just really cool stuff. These pieces are nice. Some of the dialogue feels like they're being ripped off from old poems or something. I don't know how to put it. This was my favorite in the whole piece, Rachel's house after Frank King. So he goes in and erases out this character here and is left only with the object that she's holding, the sweater that she's holding, and it unrolls into a ball of yarn, and the characters from Gasoline Alley are left playing with like the absence of the servant woman in the house. Thought that was cool. Obviously an amazing illustrator. These are the ones where I didn't quite understand what they were, but I felt like if I really went slow and spent my time, I'd get it. With the dialogue, they really felt like they're being pulled from some kind of medieval poem or something, but really literate stuff. Again, amazing coloring, amazing cartooning, and then flips into this very like kind of crude, childish style on purpose. And then this cracks me up. I don't know what the intention here is, but he's obviously a black artist. And this looks to me like a sketchbook page from a Chris Ware sketchbook or a Dan Clowes sketchbook where they're obsessing. I don't know. A lot of those cartoonists obsess about the blues and the ragtime, and they do all this drawings of that. And I almost feel like he's, as a black artist, poking fun of them for how they're mining that a little bit. And I wonder if that's what some of this book is too, is like intentionally appropriating some of their styles and mining that. It feels a little bit like that. It feels like it has that aspect to it, largely because of this page. Otherwise, I would have just thought that this is someone who's influenced by, you know, the greatest cartoonists of the last 30 years, and the greatest cartoonists of all time, going back to Frank King, and it's just really cycling through all the different styles at ease, you know, with intent. I love that. I love that style play. But this page here was almost like a key to me for the whole thing. This suggests that there's been some things switched out from the first. Here's some more. Like, that's totally the Chris Ware, the circles and everything. But suggests that some things have been switched out from the first printing, and that this is all supposedly going to get collected into a graphic novel called Mint as well. It sounds like he's currently working on a graphic novel volume of Mint, which will collect a lot of this work. And apparently already has a graphic novel out called Tumult, which I've looked up and is available on Amazon. So I'm going to be snatching my copy of that. And I got like big eyes on Michael Kennedy. He feels like a really powerful voice, and I cannot wait to see more full-length work for him, or how all of this comes collected together. So love this book, love it. This is a 9. It's just not that finished nugget, but like 9 for potential.
All right, so those are the books I really like. There's a lot of stuff in here in this one that I'm really excited about, artists I'm going to be following up on. So thank you so much to Partners and Sons for sending things along. Hopefully you all have seen things in these last 3 videos that you like and are exposed to new artists that you can follow up on. You know, while you're saving your money up to go get some of those books, remember, if you haven't already, definitely check out your copy of get a copy of Strange Death of Alex Raymond to check out, and keep an eye out for the books that Sean has coming out soon. He's got Yuichi Yokoyama's Plaza, Eric Creek's The Exile, and Mil Vandepeet's Centralia are all books that he's announced that will be coming out in the next 5 to 6 months or so, I think. So while you're waiting for those, go check out these books. Thanks for following along. Take it away, Jack.
What's